Good afternoon. You're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Jes Delos Santos. Let's take a look at how the local bourse closed today, Wednesday. Okay, so always you start with a look at the PSEi. You have the main index bucking the regional route here after it surged 0.7% to 6,934. This, of course, over reports that the Delta wave is slowing down and, in fact, nearing its end game, according to the Octa Research Group. This comes as pilot implementation of the alert level system expires on the 30th. Yet, opening discussion in NCR's fate, will level 4 stay or will it be eased to level 3 come October? Looking at our leaders and laggards here, I want to kick things off first with these two stocks here, diverging paths here for Aboitiz Equity Ventures and its power unit, Aboitiz Power. That's after the JERA deal. Again, we're talking about that stake sale of 27% of Aboitiz Power to Japanese utility firm JERA. That's going to be for $1.58 billion. And like what I mentioned earlier, diverging paths here for both stocks with the parent unit, Aboitiz Equity Venture, at least being the day's top performer, up by 5.1% as represented by the white line in this chart. At the same time, you have, on the other hand, Aboitiz Power being the day's worst performer, down 3.6% to 29 pesos and 80 centavos a share. Now, this bit of news with Aboitiz Power is also affecting the movement here among some of our power players, with the likes of those with exposure to power, just like AC Energy, GT Capital, and Metro Pacific, also ending the day in the red by no, at least declining by no less than 2% today. Now, one other stock that we need to keep an eye on would have to be Megaroll. It's after its REIT unit, MReit, moved its listing date to October 1 from September 30. That's due to overwhelming demand from investors that impacted the completion of their lodgement of shares with the Philippine Depositary and Trust Corporation. According to MReit, this is a testament to investor confidence as well as the strength of the Philippine capital market. So far, they did manage to sell 844.3 million common shares at 16 pesos and 10 centavos each, with an over allotment option of 105.5 million common shares. So looking at this chart right here, Megaroll joins the rally, at least up by 1.1% to 2 pesos and 84 centavos a share. Lastly, outside the main index, we have investors also betting big on leisure and resort. That's after it secured a PAGCOR permit for its sport betting platform that's going to be Total Game Zone, which has 30 branches with 1,239 terminals. Total Game Zone also allows users to place bets on various competitions like basketball, volleyball, and football. Now, looking at this performance, at least of LNR today, it snaps a two-day losing streak. It even jumped as much as 4.2% today, but tempered those gains to 3.6%, ending the day at 1 peso and 71 centavos apiece. Now, a survey among business groups showed that nearly all businesses provided support for their workers despite challenges brought by the pandemic. The survey showed that 99% of the 200 respondents said their companies extended some form of support for their regular employees, while 71% say they did the same for their contractual workers. Only 65% gave support for workers hired through agencies. Though majority of the respondents got lower revenues due to the pandemic, at least 55% say they were able to maintain their workforce or even hired more workers. Now, to talk more about that survey and how companies plan to support their workforce as the pandemic drags on, we have on the show Riza Mantaring, chairperson of the National Issues Committee of the Management Association of the Philippines. Good afternoon, Riza.
Good afternoon, Jess.
Okay, based on your survey, you have 99% of the companies providing some form of support. But then again, not all companies are created equal. And how do support levels vary and in what form or type?
Mhm. Well, obviously, the larger companies will be able to provide more support simply because they have more capital to be able to do it. But in terms of the types of support provided, no matter how small the company, as you can see from the survey, everybody provided some form of support. And the top type of support provided, because this is a pandemic and the need was immediate, was really health support in terms of vaccination or access to vaccinations, and the testing and treatment were necessary. The other one that was also provided by a large number of respondents was financial support. Almost everybody tried really to give some form of financial support to employees, whether it's maintaining salaries, even if they were not reporting to work, paying full salaries for regular employees, providing loans, providing special allowances. And one of the, as mentioned earlier, even contractual employees and agency employees were provided some form of support by the companies. And it's really part of the private sector's responsibility as a job generator, because our role, we see it as a private sector, is really provision of jobs, and we're the biggest job generators obviously in the country. And trying to maintain those jobs was something that every company tried to do. Trying to maintain their workforce, trying to keep their employees was something that every company tried to do.
Okay, good thing that you mentioned about how the level of support differs depending on worker classification. How should we read into that?
Yes. Well, if you look at the regular employees, that's really where your primary obligation is,
Mhm.
because they work with you. Contractual employees, yes, they work with you. They could also be working with other companies, and contractors have other benefits typically, because you don't get the benefits of a regular employee.
Mhm.
It's typically built into the fees that you're paid. Now, in terms of agency employees, the support was actually not much different from contractual employees. But if you really think about it, agency employees are really the employees of someone else. But
Mhm.
despite that, the companies still try to help agency employees.
Okay. Also, reason this the support vary if the employee reports on site compared to those with more flexible work arrangements.
Mhm. Yes, for those with more flexible work arrangements, that was actually one form of support that was really welcomed by employees, because they
Mhm.
felt safer not having to travel. There were things like allowances provided for internet, for computers, for cell phones, that was given to employees that were working from home, to allow them to be able to work more effectively from home. And aside from that, is really the flexibility that they were given working from home.
Mhm. Now, majority of your respondents lost revenue, at least according to the survey, but still they managed to maintain their workforce or even hire more. How did
Mhm.
firms manage to do this?
Yes, one of the ways by which they manage to maintain the workforce would be to change the work days. For example, rather than 5 days a week, maybe you'd work 2 days a week, 4 days a week. So people might earn a bit less, but at least you're able to maintain, to give work to your entire workforce, or at least to more people in your workforce that way. So by changing work schedules, by reducing the number of hours, companies were able to maintain their workforce. Now, for the larger companies, it was simply a matter of digging into your pockets a bit more deeply and using it to be able to continue to pay your workforce.
Well, recently you have members who had to face closure, or at least temporarily shut during the pandemic.
Yes, well, for MAP, typically we have the larger companies who are able to
Mhm.
better withstand the impact of the pandemic. But we did have companies that said they were already on the verge of closing. And
Mhm.
some actually had to close temporarily. For example, restaurant owners, they really had to close. And, they had some of them unfortunately had to lay off their employees because there really was nothing to do, no revenue, no work. And, that's a business where the margins aren't really significant. So,
Mhm. Okay, earlier you mentioned how one of the primary support that you gave employees would have to be vaccination. Can you give us an update here regarding the private sector's vaccination efforts?
yes, for a lot of companies, the vaccination level is actually quite high, especially in Metro
Mhm.
Manila. We have members, for example, that are already at 100% vaccinated in terms of all their employees. And for most of them, I think, would be at least at the 70-80% level already, would have given at least one dose to their employees. So quite
Mhm.
high for the member companies.
Okay, with vaccination level at least high, do you see the workforce returning on site, or is a hybrid setup here to stay?
I think if you ask our members, the hybrid setup is probably here to stay. 85% would say that they plan to move to a hybrid working arrangement in the future. Probably 2-3 times a week that they have to be physically on site. The rest of the time they can work from home.
How is the sector receiving so far the pilot implementation of the alert level system here in NCR?
I think one advantage of the alert level system is it's simpler because we're used to 1, 2, 3, 4, like typhoon signal number 4, stay home. Typhoon signal number 3 is a bit better. So it's a bit simpler for people. I think what's important is maintain the consistency and don't start adding 1.2, 1.3, where there's a little more restrictions, or
Mhm.
4.5. And so that's better. And the fact that I think you're actually allowed more freedom to move about, like 10% capacity for fully vaccinated, for example, in restaurants. So that's quite welcome. And then transportation is more operating more now than it was in the past. So the loosened restrictions are definitely very welcome.
Okay, again, you have alert level 4, at least that's going to expire by tomorrow. There are now talks of a possible easing to alert level 3. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we've seen the trend going down, and you've had analyst, data analytics firm saying that the reproduction
Mhm.
number has already gone down. So I think there is basis for moving to alert level 3. And we would be happy, obviously, if we move to alert level 3, as businesses can operate more fully. You'd be able to bring more workers in, more businesses can open. So alert level 3 would be very welcome to business.
Well, let's see what's going to happen tomorrow as we await the new guidelines of peace, or what's going to be the new alert level for Metro Manila come October. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Chairperson of the National Issues Committee of the Management Association of the Philippines, Riza Mantaring. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Jess, and good afternoon.
Here are other stories we're keeping our eyes on. Civil society groups are criticizing the Pasig River Expressway project, or PAREX, saying its economic, health, and social costs are estimated to reach 164 billion pesos. The groups note that this amount still does not include the project's environmental and cultural impact. In a forum, cultural group Renacimiento Manila noted that the project will compromise at least 40 heritage sites. Environmentalists, meanwhile, warned that it could have a negative impact on marine life, as the project should disrupt water flow and block sunlight. San Miguel Corporation President Ramon Ang has defended PAREX from what he called lies propagated against the 95 billion peso project. Ang says the company is undertaking this project, quote, at a level of sustainability never before done by any other private company. Ang added that SMC is not destroying the Pasig River and is in fact mounting a 2 billion peso rehabilitation plan. Meanwhile, the founder of historical tour outfit Old Manila Walks believes that some development projects in Manila, especially those built around historical sites, are very contentious. Speaking with us earlier on Business World Live, Ivan Man D said preserving historical sites should not stop with protecting and restoring old buildings and neighborhoods. Man D believes that better policymaking is key to protecting these heritage sites. He also noted that infrastructure projects like bridges built in these properties should be fitting for the scale of the area and the community. He said bridges should be made for people to walk in and not for cars, noting that sites like Binondo and Intramuros are not designed for vehicles.
A lot of things that needs to be done. I mean, it's not as simple as restoring a building. Okay, we need improvements in the policy making. We need improvements down to the barangay level on how to make these areas better and more competitive with the other modern parts of of NCR.
We'll hear more of Ivan Mandy's thoughts on tomorrow's Metro on the Rise webinar that's courtesy of Avida and One News. Catch him and other resource speakers on One News's YouTube and Facebook pages. Again, that's tomorrow, September 30th at 4 p.m. And those are the biggest stories this trading day, September 29, 2021. Catch Businessworld Live again tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Jes Delos Santos. We are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.